As we all know, the NBA draft can either make or break a team, and we're about to find out that it's not always the team with the best picks that come out as the biggest winners, because there's been a lot of draft day trades that have changed the entire direction of NBA teams. And these trades have a lot to do with luck, skill, and being able to predict how good certain players will be years down the line. So with all that being said, here's the 8 greatest draft day trades in NBA history. Starting with number 8, the Warriors send Vince Carter to Toronto. In the 1998 draft, the Toronto Raptors picked Antawn Jamison 4th overall, and the Golden State Warriors took Vince Carter 5th overall. The Raptors had really planned on drafting Vince Carter, but they knew that the Warriors desperately wanted Jamison, so they picked him so that the Warriors would have to give up something to get him. So immediately after Carter was taken 5th overall, he was traded to the Raptors, along with around $1 million for Jamison. This wasn't the craziest trade, since the Raptors could have just easily drafted Carter, but it technically was still a trade that brought Canada's greatest player to them, so we had to include it. Number 7, the Bucks trade Nowitzki to the Mavs. Going into the 1998 NBA draft, there were a few things going on surrounding Dirk Nowitzki early on. The Dallas Mavericks with the 6th pick wanted Dirk Nowitzki, the Bucks with the 9th pick wanted Robert Traylor, who was most likely not gonna last till the 9th spot, and then the Phoenix Suns, who didn't have a pick, wanted Pat Garrity, who was expected to go late in the first round. So the Dallas Mavericks could have just taken Dirk 6th, but instead they selected Robert Traylor 6th overall to reserve him for Milwaukee, who then picked Nowitzki 9th and then Pat Garrity with their 19th pick, which led to the Mavs then trading Traylor for Dirk and Garrity. And then the Mavs traded Garrity to the Suns for Steve Nash, getting 2 Hall of Fame and future MVPs in one night. Number 6. The Bulls get Scottie Pippen from Seattle. Going into the 1987 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics had the 5th overall pick and the Chicago Bulls had the 8th pick. But Scottie Pippen wasn't gonna drop down to the 8th pick. So the Bulls traded Olden Polynice, who they picked 8th overall, a 1988 second round pick, and a 1989 first round pick for Seattle's 5th pick in Scottie Pippen. It was a terrible move for the Sonics because Polynice would only average 3 points a game for them over the next 3 seasons, before they had to just trade him away, and he would never average more than 12 points a game in his career. And Seattle got no one else really notable from those other picks. But as for the Bulls, well, we all know how Scottie Pippen turned out to be a Hall of Famer and an all-time great. Number 5, Ray Allen to the Celtics. Going into the 2008 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics had their minds set on teaming up Paul Pierce with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. And the first step to doing that was to get Ray Allen during the NBA draft. And keep in mind that Ray Allen just had one of his best seasons of his career, averaging over 26 a game in Seattle. But Sonics GM Sam Presti felt that it was time to move on. So during the 2007 draft, a deal went down that sent Boston's 5th overall pick, which was Jeff Green, LeBron Sr. and Wally Szczerbiak, in exchange for Ray Allen. At the time, Sam Presti was quoted as saying, "To make the decision to move a player like Ray Allen was tremendously difficult, so a team would have had to put up a great offer and really pursue him here, and Boston did that." I mean, I don't know what he was thinking because Delonte West played 35 games for the Sonics, Szczerbiak played 50, and Jeff Green only ended up playing there 3.5 seasons before they traded him back to the Celtics for Nate Robinson and Kendrick Perkins. So they basically traded Ray Allen for Nate Robinson and Kendrick Perkins. So it really did turn out to be an insane move by the Celtics. Number 4, Kawhi Leonard for George Hill. This is absolutely one of the worst trades in NBA history for the Pacers, and one of the all-time greatest trades for the Spurs, at least in hindsight. The Pacers had some kind of weird obsession with George Hill ever since the Spurs drafted him back in 2008. It was an unhealthy obsession. In 2010, they almost traded for him with their 10th overall pick, but they decided to take Paul George instead, thankfully. And then in 2011, after he only averaged 10 points and 2 assists a game on the Spurs, the Pacers stuck with it, and they still really wanted him, so they traded the 15th overall pick, which was Kawhi Leonard, and 2 second-round picks for him. But I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just the Pacers that were wrong about Kawhi, because in one of his draft reports, there were things like this said about him. He does not have one aspect offensively that allows him to consistently score the ball. His shot is very inconsistent, he lacks the skills necessary to operate on the wing, and he does not have a great touch around the basket. Now, it's always easy to have regrets in hindsight because you see how things worked out, but the NBA draft is all about predicting a player's skill set in the future. And the fact that San Antonio did that so effectively and only had to give up George Hill to get an MVP contender is what makes this trade so great for him. Number 3. The Hawks trade Bill Russell to the Celtics. Now, I talked about this a little bit in my other video, but I'll go over it again. So, Bill Russell proved to be one of the best college players while he was there, and Celtics coach Red Auerbach thought that he was just what his team needed to take them to the next level. But they weren't picking until late in the first round because they had just had the second best record in the league, so Russell was without a doubt going to be taken second overall by the Hawks. But it was a perfect situation for Auerbach because his star player Ed Macauley had just recently asked to be traded to the Hawks to be with his sixth son. So they traded Ed and their other star player in Cliff Hagan to the St. Louis Hawks in exchange for the second overall pick, Bill Russell. The Hawks might have gotten 2 star players out of that, and they probably thought that they definitely won that trade. But as an instant slap in the face, Bill Russell and the Celtics would go on to beat that Hawks team in the finals that year. Oh, and go win 10 more NBA championships with Bill Russell. Number 2, the Hornets trade Kobe Bryant. The Charlotte Hornets trading away Kobe Bryant on draft night has become remembered as one of the biggest mistakes in NBA history. But that's actually pretty inaccurate, because it should be remembered as one of the greatest moves in draft history by the Lakers. And here's why. Kobe Bryant was a 17-year-old coming into the NBA draft. He worked out with a ton of teams, but the main teams that were interested were the Nets, who had the 8th pick, the 76ers, who had the 1st, and the Celtics, who ended up with the 6th pick. But it was Jerry West's master plan to make a trade for Kobe Bryant, because in his workout with the Lakers, Kobe Bryant dominated games of one-on-one against Lakers Hall of Famer Michael Cooper and Dante Jones, who had just taken Mississippi State to the Final Four, leading to Jerry West saying that that was the best pre-draft workout he had seen in his entire life. And he said that he wanted to pick Kobe Bryant just from the cold-blooded look he had in his eyes and his will to win. So Jerry West's plan was to have Kobe fall out of the lottery picks so he could give him a smaller contract and then sign Shaq to pair the two up. But to do that, he had to scare away all the other teams, and Kobe went along with the plan. So Kobe's agent told the Nets that he really didn't want to play there, and then Kobe's parents told Philly that he didn't want to play for his hometown team, and LA lucked out with the Celtics because they decided to pick Antoine Walker with the 6th pick instead. So Kobe fell out of the lottery to the 13th pick held by the Hornets. The Hornets did have zero interest in having Kobe on their team, but they made a deal with LA to exchange him for Vlade Divac, and it went through. But Vlade was the one most upset by this. He felt that he had finally earned his spot on the Lakers roster, and he was loved by all of their fans. So he didn't want to go to a mediocre team in Charlotte. And he actually threatened to retire if the trade went through, and he stood by that decision for about a month in the offseason until he finally gave in and played for the Hornets. So a rookie Kobe Bryant was on the Lakers with a small contract, which led to them being able to sign Shaq that summer. So yeah, the Hornets did make a bad decision by not even considering wanting Kobe Bryant, but it was more of a great move by the Lakers and by Jerry West to manipulate the draft and to be able to sign both Kobe and Shaq that summer. Number 1, the Warriors give Boston a super team. Alright, this is the 3rd time they're on the list, but I'm no Celtics fan. They just have a great history of getting assets, making trades, and drafting players to make their team better. First with Red Auerbach, and even to this day with Danny Ainge. For this instance, it was years after the Bill Russell trade, and another example of why Red Auerbach is an all-time great basketball mind. Going into the 1980 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics had just picked Larry Bird the year before, finished the season being tied for the best record in the league, and had the 1st and 13th overall pick in that year's draft. But that's just the beginning, because what he did with those picks makes it even better. Because in that draft, he traded the 1st and 13th picks to the Golden State Warriors for their star center Robert Parrish and the 3rd overall pick. The Warriors would go on to take Joe Carroll first overall, who averaged 20 points a game for them, but only led them to 2 winning seasons in 6 years, and with the 13th pick, they picked some average Joe named Ricky Brown. But for the Celtics, on the other hand, they picked Kevin McHale with the 3rd pick, meaning they had gotten 2 future Hall of Famers out of that single trade, and teamed them up, putting together Boston's original Big Three that won them 3 NBA championships. And yes, there's plenty of more draft day trades that went down that landed a team a star player, but we were just looking at 8 of the best of them. So if you like this video, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.